So guys, chapter 6 is here, and in today's video, I want to go over 8 of the best solo drop spots for you guys in this season. This video is going to be crucial. I'm going to be going over 8 drop spots that I think all of you guys can benefit from and that you guys can use to pop off in solo events. Without waiting any longer, let's get right into this video. So guys, this first drop spot is going to be in sort of this northwest quadrant of the map. This is going to be Lovely Lane. This drop spot is primarily comprised of 3 houses that you guys can land at, and pretty much just pick any one of the houses because they're going to have a fair amount of loot each. My main benefits of this drop spot are where it's located. It's really far from the center of the map, so it's unlikely you're going to be super contested at this POI. However, it's also close enough to the center of the map to the point where you can rotate pretty easily. As you guys can see right here, I am on the northwest quadrant, pretty close to Whiffy Wharf, and then also Lost Lake and the other central POIs are going to be not too far away. So all I pretty much have to do is rotate to this general area, and I'm going to be pretty central in the map. On top of that, there's also a launch pad for rotation, which in my opinion is one of the most beneficial ways to not only get around this POI itself, but also rotate when the time calls for it. Like I said, since there's 3 houses, pick any one that you want to land at, and I'm sure you guys will pop off at any of them. But once again, Lovely Lane, great POI, tons of materials. Yes, it's likely that you are contested by maybe 1-2 people, but not much more than that. And if you play this drop spot correctly, you guys can easily split it and not have to deal any off-spawn fighting. So Lovely Lane, really great POI, would definitely recommend. Now guys, this next POI is going to be fairly central. This is going to be called All You Can Catch. It's going to be located in the center of the map, pretty close to the train station as well if you want to use that. And this is going to be a little bit of a smaller POI. It's going to go pretty unnoticed. A lot of people are going to be landing in different areas. However, I really like this POI simply because of how much materials you can get from it really quickly, and also because of, once again, how central it is. You guys are going to have large amounts of loot in these 2 buildings. There's pretty much going to be a vending machine right here in this building, and then of course another building over there that you guys can go loot. That's going to be sort of a house. This is going to be sort of a restaurant. And like I said, a great amount of mats here. You guys can get a really good amount of wood, obviously, from the trees and the general buildings surrounding the area. There's going to be tons of bricks, as you guys can see around the area as well. There's going to be those bricks over there. You guys can farm these ones. You guys can also farm these brick walls as well, easily to get a bunch of brick. And then, of course, metal is going to be the most scarce resource. However, you guys can go into this kitchen sort of area right here, and you can farm a lot of things here in order to stack up on some metal. And yes, of course, metal is going to be the resource that's the hardest to get. However, I still think it's very beneficial for you guys to land here and try to farm metal as early as possible. But All You Can Catch, great POI. Like I said, it has the 2 sort of areas. It's going to be having this area over here in the house, and then of course this restaurant area. Another great benefit of this POI is this fishing area right here. You guys can use this area to fish because fish this chapter is definitely back. It's definitely very prevalent and they're pushing it quite a bit. You guys can get great floppers and other really important fish that are going to be good healing items. You guys can even get weapons. Just be sure to abuse this. This is really going to be useful, especially in solos. But All You Can Catch, great POI. I would definitely recommend you guys land here. Now guys, this next POI is going to be called Martial Maneuvers. This is going to be in the northern sector of the map. Yes, it's not going to be very central, but you obviously are going to have a bunch of options to rotate with. In my opinion, this is one of the best unnamed POIs in the current season simply because of how much loot there is, how many materials there are, and how easy it is to rotate out. Like I said, it's not going to be very central, but to rotate out, you guys have a bunch of options. You obviously can just rotate on foot. It's not too far from the center of the map. However, what you can also easily do is you can rotate to this area in the jungle where you can use those sort of mobility items and to rotate into the center of the map. The way this POI is going to be laid out, there's going to be a slurp truck right here that I'd recommend everybody try and use. This is probably going to be the most landed on part of the POI in solos. And then what I'd recommend you guys do is loot this big building because that's going to be really beneficial for you guys and it's going to give you guys a lot of options when getting loot. Like I said, fair amount of materials. You're going to obviously have the slurp truck for some metal. There's going to be other areas around for some metal as well, those little railings. If you guys go into the house itself, it's unlikely you're going to find too much. However, there are some places you guys can try and scavenge metal from. But of course, my recommendation would be to find another POI in which you can rotate out and you guys can find metal there. Once again, the slurp truck's a huge benefit. Its location isn't too far off the middle of the map, and of course, you guys are going to be having a fair amount of rotation options. Once you guys are done here as well, you can easily rotate over to Magic Mosses or Pumped Power for some easy W King if you want to do that as well. Overall, Martial Maneuvers is going to be a great POI. I definitely recommend it for those of you who want to land at an uncontested spot that's going to have a lot of benefits loot-wise. Alright guys, so before I land at this next POI, I just want to kind of highlight what this POI is. This is going to be the Burd To Go gas station. There's going to be a bunch of these around the map. I believe either 4 or 5. You guys can look up on the screen right now. I'm going to show a map of where they all are. You guys should definitely consider landing at one of these gas stations if you want to land somewhere very low-key that not too many people are going to be contesting you at. These things are going to be spread across the map. Like I said, there's going to be one that's central, which is the one that I'm landing at right now. However, there's other options if you guys want to land in different spots of the map for whatever reason. This one that I'm landing at right now, it's all pretty much laid out the same way. There's going to be a gas station with a roof and some loot on top of there. You guys can hop down. You can loot this little area for the slurp barrels, and then also there's sometimes a chest there. Once you guys loot this area, you can rotate over towards the actual gas station area. In the actual gas station, there's going to be lots of metal from the various things around the gas station, and of course a couple of chests. Once you guys are pretty well looted up, you can rotate out to pretty much any major POI, especially from this area because this one's the central Burd To Go. However, these gas stations have a really good layout that is really quick to loot and really easy to maneuver. Since these things are so quick to loot, you guys can loot this place and leave as literally quick as you possibly can. You guys can rotate over to W key somebody, you guys can focus on trying to get a medallion from a player that's rotating from a medallion POI. And of course, guys, the materials are pretty good. You can farm metal from a large portion of the gas station. You can also farm, of course, wood and then brick from stones around the area. But overall, the Burd To Go gas stations, really solid spots. I would definitely consider checking them out. Alright guys, so the next POI is going to be very similar to the last one. This is going to be Burd. This is kind of the biggest Burd gas station on the whole map. However, it's its own named POI. I think this place is great, not only because it has a slurp truck that you guys can land off on the rip of when you guys land here, get the slurp truck really easily. Of course, I also think it's really good because of the vast amount of loot and the vast amount of metal you guys can get here. Of course, you guys can loot extremely quickly, you can get a lot of metal like I said, and of course, it's pretty central as you can see, so rotating isn't too much of a problem for me. The way I'd recommend you guys land here, considering that there's definitely a possibility that you're going to be contested, I'd recommend you guys try to land on one of these big buildings after getting the slurp truck, and then just try to get a weapon as quick as possible, and then try to prioritize getting extra materials and extra meds. Because in these fights that you're going to have in this place off spawn, it's going to be a gas station fight, which historically is very high ground based, and the highest points of these POI is going to be the gas station area, and also this area on top of the building. But of course, guys, once you're done fighting off spawn, I recommend you definitely try to get materials, focus on rotating to a more active part of the map in which you can either get W key eliminations, or you can get storm surge tags, or you could just play dead side if that's what you want to do as well. And the vast amount of chests in this small area are going to be extremely beneficial for you guys getting high quality loot as well, which is definitely going to assist in you guys getting some solo wins. But of course, guys, Burd, really solid POI. I definitely recommend it for those of you that want to land a named POI that's really small, that also has a really good effect of the rest of the gas station POIs that I went over in this video. Alright guys, so this next POI is another named POI. This is going to be Flooded Frogs. You guys can probably see a consistent theme of how I'm going to be using these named POIs. The smaller the POI and the more amount of dense loot area there is, the better I think it is for solos. The reason that loot density matters is because you want to try to loot and get everything you need as quick as possible in a small amount of area, not draw too much attention to yourself, and try to avoid off-spawn fights if possible. And loot density is important because you guys can do all that in a small area, and then you can easily rotate out. Of course, guys, this POI is going to be having a fair amount of materials. You guys can get Typhoon Blades from these stands right here, so you definitely will be contested. However, what you also need to consider is the fact that there's also going to be a boss here, a mini boss that you can fight in order to get weapons from. So for example, I'll eliminate him to show you guys. The boss actually resides near this tower right here. He rotates around, he has 2 henchmen with him. However, once you guys easily eliminate him, it's going to be pretty self-explanatory from there. So as you guys can see, I just killed the boss. He actually drops this Void Boon, which knocking players reveals others nearby. This is only really good for team game modes. Of course, he drops 2 shield potions and then a good shotgun as well. I think it's definitely beneficial to kill this boss if possible, because you guys can obviously get his loot, but then you can go on and loot the rest of the POI and get even better loot. And like I said, it's not too big of a POI, it's pretty quick to loot, and you guys can use these lily pads for easy mobility, along with getting easy fishing from these fishing holes. But of course, guys, Flooded Frogs, great named POI, definitely would recommend it. Like I said, likely that you'll be contested. Rotation isn't too difficult, so I wouldn't worry too much about trying to avoid the off-spawn fights, more so just learning how to win them by learning its POI better than everybody else. Now guys, the final POI that I'm going over is going to be one of the biggest on the map currently. This is going to be Seaport City. This is going to kind of be a combo between the Neo Tilted area and then the Mega City area from Chapter 3. Seaport City is obviously a massive POI, and it's going to have a very good amount of loot for you guys. Obviously, you're not going to be able to loot the whole thing yourself, so you're going to need to try and split this POI with other players. My recommendation, land on a building, get the materials, get the health, get the weapons that you need, try to get all that stuff, and then rotate out as quick as possible. Of course, guys, landing on the roof of a building is definitely a strategy, but if you guys want to win off-spawn fights, I'd recommend you try to just land in one of these doorways or one of these areas where you can get into a building as quick as possible, get weapons, get meds, get everything you need, then rotate up to the top of the roofs and try to eliminate players that are on other roofs as well. You guys can also utilize these grind rails to easily rotate around the POI. Pretty much as the more you guys land here, the better you guys will get at playing it and the more likely you are to win off spawn fights. But of course, this POI's got everything you guys will need. It has tons of metal, tons of wood, tons of brick. Pretty much everything a big POI has to offer, Seaport City is going to be having. I think this was kind of their attempt to recreate Tilted Towers or Mega City in this current chapter. We always kind of need some big sort of city POI in order to offset the amount of open area on the map. But once again, Seaport City, great POI. You guys are going to need to learn how to split it. It is going to be the most risky. Tons of players will be landing here. So learn how to play it off spawn, learn the POI and where all of its spawns are, and you guys will definitely succeed. Anyways, guys, that was the video on the top 8 solo drop spots for Chapter 6. If you guys are looking forward to this competitive season, let me know. I will be making some videos covering OG as well because there's going to be some OG tournaments that I'm really excited for. And of course, OG is just going to be a blast. But be sure to stick around for the duo drop spots version of this video coming out tomorrow. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.